The people must know before they can act, and there's no better educator than the press. That is a famous quote by Ida Wells Burnett, a very famous Black American activist, journalist, women's suffrage leader, just all around advocator for the rights of Black Americans here in the United States. Ida Wells was faced with adversity from the day she was born, being a Black American woman, but even so more with the fact that her parents and her brother both passed during the epidemic of the yellow fever here in the United States of 1878. They had lived in the Mississippi Valley at the time, and it was very rough there at that time. Over 20,000 people had died after experiencing almost 108,000 cases. 20,000 people died, and of those 20,000 people, 3 of them were her very close family members. After the death of her parents and her youngest sibling, Ida took on the role of being a parent to the 5 other siblings she had left. She was considered to even give them up to adoption, but she took on that strong role to raise her younger siblings. In that time of having to raise a family, she took on the role of being a teacher as well. She had to feed her family, raise a family, and that's where her financial support was coming from. She enjoyed being a teacher. She enjoyed educating those young Black kids into who they really were and the education they needed to know. She was very involved in the African American community. Going into her education, she was a teacher close by, but she moved further up into Memphis, Tennessee, where she was offered a better job at Shelby County, and she worked there for a couple of years, and during that time, she began her publishing career, where she was speaking her mind. She was bringing a lot of heat in. She was experiencing a lot of backlash from white Americans who didn't fully support they did not fully support the thoughts that she was publishing or putting out into her journals. In fact, it was during the Jim Crow era, so a lot of the things she was speaking on were against everything the Jim Crow was for. And Ida was very, very passionate about everything there. In May of 1884, Ida had experienced something similar to what Rosa Parks had experienced, having to get kicked off the train. She was not going for that. She got off, but she went to court, fought the case, and she won $500. But the train station had reappealed, and she had to end up paying in, and she lost the case. Shortly right after that, Ida had experienced the death or lynching of 3 Black men that she personally knew, and that was something that got her into the topic of lynching and the conversation of lynching, and she began publishing more topics on the Jim Crow era, but also more topics on lynching here in America and globally. Over time, she began to invest her career into lynching, even moving forward with her Southern Horrors lynch law in the phases in its phases, where she had published in New York after having to relocate from Memphis. She was now in New York, and her career was thriving. She even began traveling to Britain and meeting with new people and being able to spread the news of lynching, not the news, but the awareness of lynching and the impact it had on not just American culture, but Black Americans or Blacks globally. And she was able to shed light and make an impact. And that's mainly what she's known for, is the push that she had and the passion she felt behind Black Americans being killed or being labeled as rapists or things of that nature, and being sought after because they were Black. And she was down to debunk every lie that was put out on Black males globally, and she made her impact very, very well known. She gained support everywhere on her tours while she traveled the world, going on and on and on about this. I I loved her. I love learning about her. Now living in Chicago after her tours and going on the tours about the lynching and women's suffrage, she settled down in Chicago and met someone with a similar likenesses of her and began a family. I had to receive recognition over time for trying to balance out raising a family and also advocating for women's rights and advocating for Black men's rights and Black women's rights and the rights of Black people all over. I had received her recognition, and during while she was alive, and even after her death, she received so many accolades, and I believe they were all well worth it. In summary, I believe Ida Wells was a very impactful woman. She spoke her mind, and she was very sure about everything she went for, everything she spoke about, and everything she wrote and journaled. She is well known for being true to herself and in going after what she believed in. She was a powerful force of a woman, a very powerful force of a woman. Wells Burnett was very passionate about everything that made the world come together as one. I believe if we had more people like her today, it would be an amazing sight to see. Thank God we're not where we were because of people like her who have set the path straight for us. And yeah, thank you.